If you focus on negative things, if you have more of a victim mentality, if you just only see the difficulties of the hard things, well, shit, yeah, you're never going to accomplish anything. You're always going to find a reason for it not to happen. But if you're able to practice gratitude and just appreciate everything around you, or honestly, what we talk about is like focusing on the wins and looking at the wins in all sorts of areas, not just even financially, but in every area, then all of a sudden you're putting that in the universe, you're getting more of that back.
Do you have a topic you want to talk about today?
No.
All right, I do.
There you go.
I want to talk about it. This is like less business and more personal today, if that's okay. But you know what? I think that we always say change comes from the inside out, and blah blah blah, and all this. So like, if we're talking about business and entrepreneurship and salesmanship and all that stuff, okay, like your personal and your mindset is a huge part of it. So I wanted to talk about like gratitude, and I'll tell you why. In America, I see, and I'm guilty of it too, so I'm not like bashing all Americans, but I see a lot of people complaining about this, complaining about that, how bad they have it. The country's this, the country's messed up, the country's that, blah, blah, blah. And you almost become numb to it. And then you start doing it too. Taxes, this, that, the government did this, they don't really do that. So I was watching and reading about Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union. And if you think Hitler is bad, this guy makes him look like a saint. I mean, he's probably the most evil person in history. Killed probably 10 times more people than Hitler did. Created the worst man-made famine in history. And like growing up there, and I actually heard firsthand experience from Alina's mother, who grew up in the Soviet Union and has firsthand experience of that. And she's in her 70s, and wow, it really put into perspective like the opportunities we have here. Just being grateful for being able. I mean, I literally was able to buy a computer, say what I wanted to say, market the way I wanted to market, and create $1 million business because I'm in the right country. I didn't grow up there, right? So one of the things was there was, and I don't want to give you like a history lesson and bore you to death here, but when he took over, he went to Ukraine and had all the farmers given all their crops, took all the food from the people and took it for the government because this was his 5-year plan. He had a 5-year plan, and he said, one death is a tragedy. 1 million deaths is a statistic or something like that. He said something. I mean, the guy is psychotic. And he had a 5-year plan to make Russia a powerhouse. And part of it was sacrificing a bunch of people and to feed the army and feed the Soviet Union and feed, them to be able to fight Germany and the other countries. And he sacrificed so many people. So it was so bad in Ukraine that they had, and you can look this up, and you think it's a joke. It's not. They had advertisements, remember, don't eat your children. People were eating corpses and eating their own like bodies because they had no food. That's how bad it was. The worst famine, man-made famine in history. Killed more people than the Holocaust. And he did this to his own people and the people he was in charge of. And I'm just going to tell you just a brief story of this, and I'm going to kick it off, and let's talk about gratitude and where we are in business and how we got here, right? But I just want to give you a little context of why I was feeling the way I'm feeling, because, I started talking to Alina's mom, and I was like, hey, tell me about Joseph Stalin and what it was like growing up in the Soviet Union. And she starts talking, and all of a sudden she starts bawling her eyes out. And she says, they took her grandfather, right? So her grandmother, in the middle of the night, they came to the house, took her grandfather. The government took him, never seen him again, ever. They don't know if he's dead, alive, went to a work camp, went anywhere, right? Imagine the government that you trust and to make sure you're safe, and the cops and the police, and coming in and stealing the father of your children, your husband, the person that's bringing in the bread, and leaving you with 4 kids by yourself to raise 4 kids by yourself, and no job, no money, no nothing, not knowing what to do. The government just snatches them up, probably puts them in some work camp or some goulash or whatever they could, and they're gone, and you can do nothing about it. Nothing about it. Like, that's how these people grew up. It's so crazy. And one day when the Soviet Union fell, like just go further past Stalin, one day when the Soviet Union fell, they had all ruble or whatever they had and whatever the currency was in the bank. The next day, there's no money. Oh, it'll transfer over. We'll convert it. Everybody lost everything they worked for. People worked their entire life, saving, retired, not working anymore, lost everything. Everything was gone overnight. Like, imagine growing up like that. Like, under somebody that can snatch a member of your family in the middle of the night. You can do nothing about it. Starving your own people, controlling everything you see. And all you see in school is that he's great, worship him, statues, pictures, posters, everything. And you just have no choice. You're literally a slave in your own country. And like, I'm looking here, I'm like, why am I complaining about my steak isn't cooked properly? Why am I complaining that my brand new car, I had to take it into service a couple weeks after I got it because it had a minor issue and it was fixed under warranty? You know what? Like, we have so much opportunity in this country, and as entrepreneurs, as salespeople, as, you know, business people, whatever. Man, when you realize like how it could be, you'd stop majoring in the minor things and like the little negative things and crying about it and realize how much opportunity is. And that's why a lot of foreigners come over from the Soviet Union, ex-Soviet Union. They come over here and they become rich, filthy rich, because you're like, oh my God, look at all this opportunity all over the place. So, you know, I want to start off by telling everybody, and I'm not going to tell you how to think, but think this way. Be grateful for everything you have. Like, you can just order food anytime you want to on your phone and it'll be there in 20 minutes. Crazy. You don't have to eat corpses to survive. All right. Be thankful that, you know, the government is not going to come and snatch one of your family members and just disappear in the middle of the night. And be grateful for the opportunity that you have. You can literally, as long as you have a laptop and a desire and a connection to the internet, you can make it, and you can have a level of success that some people can only dream of in other countries. So be grateful for everything we have. I don't think the country's perfect. I think there are things that can be changed, yes. But go into everything with gratitude and realize the opportunity you have. Because if you have that mindset, man, it's going to allow you to seize it. It's going to allow you to see everything and be like, oh my God. And you look at the glass as half full. So I know I just jacked like the first 10 minutes, but I wanted to kind of set the foundation of why I felt and thought that way. And like, as I'm reading and stuff, and kind of download that onto you and kind of get your feedback of, you know, where you are today and how much opportunity that you seized, so that people can understand like opportunities out there, man. You just have to seize it. And we're so grateful to be where we're at in the country we're at with the opportunities that we have.
Yeah, I think that's it's a very compelling story when you, especially with how close you are to it. I think a lot of us are so far removed from the realities of just not even 100 years ago. And the truth is, like, there's places in the world right now that are going through atrocities that we can't even imagine because of how really good we have it. I think that for all the negativity, like, this is, if you want to change your situation and have the most control over it, like, the America is the place to be. Makes it really, really easy. And that gap is getting bridged in a couple of places, but I mean, even the fights that we see that are going on right now with just the freedoms that we have, I think are amazing. So that's really interesting and that's compelling. And I know even just for myself, I don't look at history enough to understand the reality of the situations in the past, or even to be aware of, you know, keeping an eye out for stuff like that in the future. But I will say, actually, interesting topic, kind of bringing up gratitude, because I found myself even recently just trying to remind myself to be more grateful. But a big thing, and we can kind of like dive into this, is I'm curious kind of like your thoughts on how you practice gratitude. But I know even like the end of the day, it's what we focus on is what we get. Life is energy. And, you know, in the idea of being grateful for where we are, of seeing the opportunities, like, and there's kind of, as you were talking, there's kind of two things I was kind of thinking about that maybe practicing gratitude, for lack of a better term, allows to happen. One of those being the energy that we're putting out there, like this currency that what is going to happen to you if you focus on negative things, if you have more of a victim mentality, if you just only see the difficulties of the hard things, well, shit, yeah, you're never going to accomplish anything. You're always going to find a reason for it not to happen. But if you're able to practice gratitude and just appreciate everything around you, or honestly, what we talk about is like focusing on the wins and looking at the wins in all sorts of areas, not just even financially, but in every area, then all of a sudden you're putting that in the universe, you're getting more of that back. So I think that's one interesting component to it. But I don't know, man. Like I found myself more, I guess I have historically, I've never really been active with practicing gratitude. I found myself probably within the last year trying to be more cognizant and mindful of it. I feel like you've done it like always. I think since every time since wherever I've known you, I think that's always been something you've done. It's something I've found myself just more in random spurts within the last year, kind of like focusing, even like recently, like, oh shit, like this is pretty cool. But
yeah, dude, I catch myself all the time complaining and stuff. I literally created our life from a laptop and a conversation with you at a Mercedes dealership. Like I literally like, where can that happen? Like, where can that happen?
Yeah.
You know?
Dude.
Like, God, we are so blessed. Well, so blessed.
I have a good buddy actually back home, back actually really close to you. And it's been really cool because he's been, for lack of a better term, grinding away.
Yeah.
At creating his business, while working a full-time job. I think he has 3 kids as well, his wife. And like, dude, it's so cool just to see the actions that he's taking on a daily basis. And as he like continues, and it's not been an easy or fast ride necessarily, but he's consistently just stacking these wins.
Yeah.
And just seeing the appreciation he's having for doing it in the fun. And I think that's a big thing, is having gratitude for, which is kind of like one, it's the people that are around you that have helped you. I think it's huge. And then also the things that like just taking a step back and being like, hey, I'm able to have this, which is, food, roof over my head. Or then it's like, you could take it step up, or it's like, hey, I've gotten this, or this, and being grateful for it. That allows you just to also, I think, appreciate the journey a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which I know is something that I definitely struggled with. Whereas I never took a look at any milestone necessarily that was achieved. It was always, I think part of this is beneficial, but it was like, all right, what's next? All right, what's next? All right, what's next? And only saw, honestly, as I think out loud, more of the areas that we can improve and what we didn't do good enough, not what we've actually been accomplishing. And I think that can actually slow you down, and it can really derail the team. So, because nobody wants to be around negative people.
Well, you have to have both, right? You have to be appreciative of what you've done and sing your praises, and then also be like, dude, here's the next level, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's a aspect.
But they don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can do that.
Right.
But I think also getting like not being satisfied or content or anything like that, but I was just thinking about it recently. I was just like, man, I'm super grateful for my life. An amazing life, awesome kiddo, beautiful house.
Right.
Getting to do life on my terms. I get to help in my businesses. I get to help awesome people. So it's like, life is pretty fucking good for me. Right.
Yeah, dude. I think for anybody that's a salesperson, business person, that just like coming from that, where you were saying like it kind of attracts the same thing back to it. If you just, man, the worst it can get is I'm going to have food on the plate and a roof over my head. I'm in America. Cool. It allows you to just, let me just take the risk. Let me go for it. And just to see some people that just came from nothing. And I think that I have a lot of gratitude because I had everything stripped away from me and like, went to zero. And I think that like, dude, just like being able to get up and do what the heck I want to for the first hour of the day or whatever is just like blessed, dude. Blessed.
Well, the opposite of that is going to be somebody who has more of a victim mentality, a negative mindset, only sees the worst case stuff. It's whereas like even somebody that had it stripped away, and like there's been times where I had it all stripped away,
right?
Where it's just like, okay, cool, like time to rebuild.
Right.
If this is what I want, this is what I have to do, and I can go do it. Like you can't do that in a lot of places.
Right.
Like you don't have that ability to like just go and fucking start over or start from scratch and really create success.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what prevents a lot of people from just seeing maybe the simplicity of it. It's not easy necessarily to build anything or to create outcome. Like there has to be some level of sacrifice, time, money, whatever. But it's usually just following a straight path to get there. and overcoming the barriers and the obstacles. And I think a lot of people, they just are just, I don't know, man, just negative shit. So they can't make it happen.
Dude, little exercise right now. Good question. Like, I'll question you and then I'll share mine. But like, because of where we're at today in the country and the things that we have and the advancements in technology, like, name 2 or 3 things that contributed to your success, to where you're at today. And maybe this will help people understand, like, and start looking for the things in their lives that are like, oh my God, this is available to me. Right. And then start seeing them and start working. Like, just name 2 or 3 things that you can attribute to your success, or you utilize, that you had the freedom to utilize, that made you who you are today.
I mean, the 2 things are probably books and the internet. I could add a 3rd thing, which is people. Like, when I was back east, I got to have breakfast with the 2 individuals that essentially got me started.
Yeah.
Like, literally encouraged me to go do this, let me use their basement, and then
I got him started. Bob is talking about his parents. They birthed him and raised him. That's who he's talking about. So they gave him life and changed his diapers.
Well, that's also a 4th thing. And I think I was very fortunate where, like, I grew up where my dad started his business the year I was born, and he still has it.
Yeah.
So like and I think that's why I think actions do speak louder than words. And especially nowadays, people are so, let me like tweet this and post this up and try and put this like this visual of what I'm doing, but not really doing anything.
Right.
Whereas, my dad built his business from scratch when I was a kid. So I grew up seeing him working that and putting that effort in. There was no fucking days off.
Yeah.
And he built something that allowed us to have a pretty good life.
So you grew up in a country where you could literally see somebody have a bit, like, you couldn't have a business in the Soviet Union. It's like everybody works at the same thing. It's like you grew up and be like, wow, this is possible.
Like I saw what was possible. And then I had people that saw something in me that then gave me that, leg up to get going, which was like, hey, here's this, you can start your training business in our basement. And then, you're going to train young athletes, and we're going to try and get every other, one of our son's friends to train with you.
Yeah.
And then it put me down this path to what I've been able to accomplish. And then 2 things that like everybody has: internet and books.
Dude.
Because then everything else was just, I just started reading to increase my knowledge so that I could take action on what I learned and develop my skills. And then the internet to increase my knowledge. It even started back when I was trying to do fitness. Like, I remember being on the bodybuilding.com forums all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where I initially learned. And then you got some books and you got other forums. But then it's just constantly learning. And how many people that have I learned from?
Right.
Like, my first mentor was literally Facebook. Right. Actually, Facebook ad to then client to then being able to build Legion the way it is now.
Just
from
the
that
accessibility of information.
Which, and then also going from that, like, my mentor, Sam, his mom fled here with nothing from Iran, dealing with similar situations. And then unfortunately, before his passing, like, he built up, a very large amount of wealth, that he started from scratch because his mother escaped a place that wouldn't allow it to happen. And then he built it himself.
And there's something there too. And like, kind of what I said was like, that's why a lot of the people come from these communist countries or like countries with bad dictator, and they come here and then they seize their moment. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of like Eminem and 8 Mile, right? Opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You got to seize your moment, right? So like they come over here, but they're trained to be like, oh my God, we're trained here to be like, oh, the waiter took too long. That jerk.
Yeah.
Oh, my food's cold. Oh, blah, blah, blah. My Lululemon pants didn't come on time. Oh, how will I ever survive? And then they come here like, what? You guys can read whatever you want to read here? Holy Jesus. This is awesome. Like, and then they're just like, it's like shiny objects. You're like, oh my God, I can create a business. Oh my God, I can make money. Oh my God, this is great. And then they become successful because they're just like, they see the opportunity and they seize it. Mm-hmm. And we need to be trained to do that more.
Well, I think, and that's something that you can train yourself, because it's really easy with the way the world is to get sucked in this like negative feedback loop, just because that does, like, putting fear, like fear sells, vices, these sell. So by really getting sucked into that, you can think the place is almost worse off than it really is. And then you talk to people and you get around other people and you see the opportunity. So it really is what you consume.
It's all perspective.
Will then dictate the actions that you're going to take. So it's and the reality is, like, How fucking bad do we really have it?
You want to get canceled?
Okay.
Let's do it. Really unpopular. Somebody's going to cancel the shit out of this because if I said this, but like, let's put it into perspective, right? Somebody that's American. The government won't pay off my student loans. They're bad. They're horrible. They're rich. They're pieces of crap. Foreigner. Oh my God. I'm able to work and pay and even get like some kind of grant towards this education so I can get a job and feed my family and have like a solid career. Wow. Same situation, two different mindsets or two different ways of thinking about it, right? Another thing, right? Hey, I have a sexual preference. I like, you like men, you're a man, you like women, you're a woman, right? You can walk down the street without getting murdered. There are some countries where you get found out, you're getting killed. They come to this country like, wow, dude, I can express myself the way I want to express myself. This is awesome. The other person, I'm oppressed. Everybody hates me. Everybody's against me. This is a horrible country to live. It's all perspective, right? And I'm not saying which way, but I'm just saying like, be thankful for what, can we progress and can we move further and are there things we can change? Yes, but start with gratitude for what we have. Others would kill to be in our situation. Others would literally kill to be in our situation. And, like Alina's parents came here with nothing. And to leave the Soviet Union, they had to get a signature from their parents to leave the country. And my Alina's mom's father wouldn't sign it, and her mother forged a signature so they can get out of the country and start a new life. And they're so happy they did, and their lives are completely different because of it. And they came here with nothing. They told me stories about how they came over here. They didn't know anything about taxes or 401ks. They got robbed when they first came here. The way they lived, all the bad things that happened to them, they did that all. And they came to this country and they provided Alina and her sister with great education, great jobs, great careers, and changed their lives for the better. It's all in perspective, right? Mm-hmm. So like, if we're complaining about this, there's somebody out there that's like, I'll take that problem. Why don't you take mine?
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. So
hopefully that a point got across.
What are the two things that really kind of helped you?
I mean, you jacked my first one. It's just like freedom of information. Yeah. It's and I was looking at a YouTube video. I think Iman Ghazi, I like him, right?
He's good at what he does. I've never really followed his shit, but he's really good.
He's good. And his content's super cool and his videos are cool. But like I watch his stuff and I'm like, man, I like can just stumble upon by accident, like knowledge on how to manage my money and get wealthy and do the right things. Like if I don't have it in my household, if my parents don't have it, if they just teach me this in my neighborhood or anything, I can stumble upon a video and be like, oh my God, that makes sense. Literally the information will come across your feed somehow, some way, and you have so much knowledge and information for free, right? Like I learned so much from just like looking up things on YouTube and the internet.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's like even I think back to training. It's like I started when I was getting into fitness. I didn't know anything about it. I was 115 pounds, so to solve that. And I really didn't know anything about this area. My family didn't know it. I had an uncle that was jacked, but I never talked to him really because he just lived so far away. Yeah. But like, I started by just going freedom of information, going on the internet, Googling shit. And at the time, forums were huge, going on forums and reading and consuming, but spending like all of my time doing it, like all of my time. And then eventually it was finding books like actually from the Soviet Union and reading those books that were then translated, to then get that knowledge and stuff like that. But again, it was consuming. It was a ton of consumption of to get knowledge and to build up those skills.
Yeah.
And then of course taking action on it, like relentlessly and like unforgivingly. And that's why I was about to go on a tangent on fitness, but I'm not going to. So I think that freedom of information, it's whatever area that you want to learn. And even now, if I'm going to do something, I can just go to Google because I know there's a video on it.
Yeah.
And I can really go down the rabbit hole, on there. So right now, there is not a lack of information or paths to achieve whatever you want. It's just how willing and I think that's the difference. It's like we have the ability in this country from no matter where you are. It's just the matter of the effort one person's going to put into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of people will say that it's still not possible, but the reality is their actions don't align with what they want.
Sure.
Because they truly don't believe in it.
Sure.
So it's like this, just because that stuff is readily available doesn't mean it's easy. You're going to have to take fucking action.
Right.
It might take years of studying, but it's there.
You don't have to learn. You don't have to read about how the leader of your country is the greatest person in the world, and that's all you're taught in school, right? Like that. And then, like, dude, the second thing, like that information, that's just gold. But like the ability to just, and I changed this, I guess, over last night, is like to start a business, dude. Like we have the freedom to literally just go online for a couple $100, register an LLC, and do anything we want to. And we have Meta, we have Google, we have TikTok, we have mediums that there's low barrier to entry to market on and advertise on and get clients. You just have the ability to spin up a business off of $100 and an idea. That's, I mean, craziest country in the world. Where can you do that? That is so amazing.
Well, dude, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not so much, and there's different vehicles. Like you could use the internet to build something. You could use paid traffic. And the cool thing now is with paid traffic, you get the feedback really quickly.
Yep.
You don't even have to use it with the internet. You can literally build an audience and over time and refine it and then grow. And also you can still grow a business. Like my buddy, he's growing a business, not using fucking internet.
Yeah.
Because there's still plenty of opportunity out there.
For sure.
But it's, you can, I remember the first LLC I set up, I was just, went to the website, did it myself, and now there's easier. You can spend $100 and have somebody do it for you.
Right.
So the opportunity, the ability to create something, there's no real difficult barrier to get by it.
No.
Like, and that's where there's plenty of people that have created massive wealth who have been at zero, who have come from nothing, because frankly, just the area they were even born in.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
The U.S.
So the lesson of today is be grateful and be able to see the opportunity in front of you because it's there. I'm guilty of it. I am not pointing the finger, because when I point one at me, boom, let's get that in focus. There's three. When I point a finger at you, there's three pointing back at me. So guilty of this, right? Like I'm the stereotypical person who drives to dinner in a $300,000 Ferrari wearing a $200,000 watch and complaining about a $100 steak being overcooked, right? Like, oh God, how do you survive, right? We got it good. We got it good here, man. We got it really good in this country. So be grateful, man, and seize the opportunity. I wish I could just play 8 Mile right now. Eminem. Before
we end, there's what do you do? So I want to share something if you get stuck in a negative feedback loop. And I'll look up his name. It was Ryan something. He does training for CEOs and high level individuals, just because that's his niche, former NHL guy. And he had a really, really good training of how to get out of a negative loop. So I just want to share a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about, do you have a gratitude practice that you follow? And I'm going to look up this thing, but do you have something that you do on a routine basis to make sure you're practicing gratitude?
So I don't, but I do. So I read my goals every day and try to get focused. And then I force myself to do things when I don't want to do them, because I know doing the boring things day in and day out consistently over time leads to huge outcomes, right? So I force myself to do it, but I also think that, like Jim Rohn says, life is like the seasons, right? There's always going to be a winter. After winters, there's always going to be a spring and a summer. After summer, fall and winter are coming, right? So I know that things, I just treat it like the weather, it will pass. So if I feel like demotivated or I feel like not doing things, I know that this is just like a little season. If I can just push through and I can just maintain some level of efficiency and productivity, I'll blast through to a time where I'm super inspired, and it comes and goes. It's like the seasons, and I just let it pass.
Yeah, I don't have an actual formal, I don't wake up, I'm write in my journal and message people that I'm grateful for.
People say, can I make fun of influencers real quick before you finish that?
Of course.
You have to get up in the morning. The first thing you do 45 minutes of breath work. What was that video we just watched? Then you have to cold punch for 3 hours, and you have to stand upside down and read the Bible backwards because it's a secret of the universe. And then by 4:00 p.m. in the afternoon, when everything's done, I get down to work, I open my laptop for 30 minutes, and I close it and do more yoga, breath work, Pilates, and gratitude training in my journal. It's dude, shut up. There's no
tell you
friggin' routine.
some of my favorite mornings, like what I did this morning, is I woke up, I slept in, woke up, drank coffee, and played on my phone before I woke up the little one.
You love doom scrolling, dude. Doom scrolling's like
I love it.
Bob will
Dude,
be anytime I'm on Instagram, there's a message from Bob with like some post he's sharing. He's like, yo, love this hook, dog. Great ad.
So it's also like, exactly. I'm looking at, oh shit, this is really good. How can I learn from this, or how can I use this? But also I just like to fucking play around. Like when I was growing Legion, I did work a ton, and I still work a ton now. So how I recovered, and I love entertainment. I love movies. Everybody talks all this shit like, oh, like you don't fucking watch movies and all this stuff on TV. I love watching TV. I love watching movies.
Yeah.
I like playing on my fucking phone and just zoning out. Because when I'm not zoning out and having something that's going to allow me to zone out, I'm constantly thinking about work in some capacity, which is, I don't think, a bad thing. So, but I also like starting, I'll get back into my routine next week where I'll wake up and I'll go to the gym first thing. And then I'll play on my fucking phone while I'm at the gym.
Dude, I do that. I can't like,
man,
I teach it and preach it, but I just can't, dude. I'm always like, I'm just, I literally put my AirPod in and I'll call you while we're working out. It's like,
I know.
Talk about shit.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I don't really have a routine necessarily. It does rotate and stuff like that. I do try and, especially nowadays, I try and be much more cognizant of the things that I have. And be grateful for it and for the people and the things that helped me achieve it. But there was like even a period where I was stuck in a fucking negative ass loop. And it took me a long time to get out of it. But I want to share some of the stuff that I got from it. I actually did this in an old training. I think I did it for the franchise. It's the mindset, money, and hiring. And it kind of starts off with like, believe it or not, these are all interrelated. You attract what you believe. This goes for end people, because a lot of people talk about, I can't seem to hire anybody. It's like, well, why would somebody want to work with you?
Sure.
Why would somebody want to be in your business? But anyway, so then money and people. And then obviously the foundation of mindset is, that area of what you believe is what you're going to accomplish. So this is from Ryan Walter's thinking tendency model. And we need to stay in a past positive thinking kind of modality, which is our wins, and then move on to future positive thinking. Whereas a lot of people are stuck in past negative thinking and future negative thinking. So this creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. To get out of this, we have to make the mental cognitive shift, recognize like when we're in a bad state. Like it's okay if you get sucked into like you find yourself, getting into some sort of negative loop. You just need to recognize we're in there, get into those feelings, and then move on. So first thing you need to do is recover, focus on your thinking attention on what's on your mind and what you need to work through. So literally just ask yourself what's on your mind. How long has this been on your mind? What specifically is on your mind? And there's lots of other like insights in here, but I won't go into like detail on it. And then increase your thinking insight and discover what the real challenge is. Ask yourself next so that you can regroup. And then finally they put reattack. Focus on the outcome, any interference, and your process plan. So the reality is it's just like, if you find yourself in a negative loop, that's okay. That's normal, especially with some of the shit that's around us right now. So it's like, just recognize it. Hey, I'm having some negative thoughts. Why am I having negative thoughts? What is this coming? And then recover. Hey, so where do I want to be? What do I need to do in order to get there? What's this plan? Now I'm going to start taking action. Because one of the easiest ways, and you kind of already talked about it, was the easiest way, I believe, to change your beliefs around something is literally just getting the results. So when you take action and you get the results, it just reinforces that what you're doing works.
It's like, damn, this is possible.
Yeah. It's like, and that's why I do love fitness, because it's like, if I work out and then I eat the proper way, I will get the outcome that I want. But over time, it doesn't happen tomorrow. We might get some quick wins right off the bat, but true like success, changing in my physique and my health takes time. And so I have to be consistent. So I love that. I think just even that taught me when it comes into business, it's like, okay, here's this path. I've seen other people be successful doing this. I know this is what makes it up. So as long as I can do it. And honestly, even a win early on could be as simple as like, I'm increasing my knowledge. I know why this works. And I know that if I do this, it just, okay, now I just need to refine it. So I just take that action, take that action, take that action. Not instead of just being like, so many people like, oh, if I make 10 calls, I'm going to make, a sale. It's like, or make a fucking 1,000 calls and then keep on doing it, get better. Cause it's not just, what you do, it's how you do it. And then eventually you'll start creating that loop of success, which makes it easier to do those actions. So you don't think about it. It doesn't become a chore or anything like that. Early on, some people may hate working out, but then they grow to love it. Doesn't mean that it's any easier. It's still the same challenging act. And that's essentially the path that we want to go on. So if you find yourself in a negative loop, that's totally okay. That's normal. Recognize it and then move on. Let yourself sit in it for a little bit, but we can't dwell on it. And then we got to focus on the positives and then the actions we need to take to create the positive outcome that we want.
Right. I think it's good. Kind of similar to what I'm doing. Just keep fucking going through, know what's happening, keep reading your goals and just push through it. Yeah. It passes. It's like it's raining today. It's not going to rain for the rest of your life. It'll pass. Storm may seem horrible. Hurricanes come, destroy a friggin' place. You go back 3 years from now, never know what happened. It's crazy. Yeah. Crazy. Hurricane Katrina, go look at the footage. Then go visit Louisiana today. It's like everything passes. It's all cyclical. Yep. No matter how bad it seems, it's always going to pass.
On that note, that's a perfect way to end it.
Love, peace, and chicken grease. We'll catch you next week.